This is Girls, Gains, and Growing Pains, a podcast about working smarter and harder to achieve your fitness goals. In every episode, we break down common health and fitness questions in a fun and relatable way.
Whether you're a beginner or far along on your fitness journey, this podcast is for you. I'm Rachel Johns, a bikini bodybuilder, nutrition certified through Precision Nutrition, and a NASM certified personal trainer.
And I'm Julia Ross, just a regular gal trying to get healthier and lose weight.
It is important to note that neither of us are medical professionals, and the views expressed on this podcast are those of the host.
And today, we're going to be breaking down just some knowledge that I have gleaned from my time with Rachel that we thought would be really helpful to share with you all, and that is gym vocab.
Yeah. A lot of clients are like, I don't know what that means. Can I learn what that means? So Julie and I have a long list of some vocab that we thought of. Mm-hmm. And that maybe we didn't know at first. So.
Yes, things that I've either asked or that you have asked in your experience, and then just a little extra fun ones that we read about online.
Because we're all beginners at some point.
Exactly.
We have to learn.
Yeah, so it's better to know these things now than dumbstruck in the middle of the weights floor, which is what happened to both of us some of the time.
I know. I didn't know anything going in.
So yeah, do you want to kick us off with our first word? What's going to get us going today?
Okay. Well, this is something that keeps me motivated every workout and it's called pump.
The pump, yes. When I first heard this, I thought it was something inappropriate, but it's not. It's pure, it's innocent, it's all that is good in the world. It is. How would you define pump in your most sophisticated way? Because I have my casual way to define pump, but how would you define it?
Pump is basically when you're using a certain muscle group and you get a good blood flow to that muscle group and the muscle starts looking visibly bigger. Mm-hmm. So there's this thing that they call a pump cover, which is when you wear like an oversized t-shirt or sweatshirt where you start working out, and then once you get nice and warm, you take the large t-shirt or sweatshirt off and it reveals your pump. So your muscles look bigger, you look fuller, and that might come from eating carbohydrates before your workout. Mm-hmm. Being really well hydrated, creatine, which is a supplement that helps bring water to your muscles. Yeah. And you look bigger, especially on like upper body days for me. I don't feel like I get that great of pump on my lower body, but definitely my upper body, like my shoulders when they look around. And it's so motivating. Allie actually just texted me about this. She's like, she worked out in a tank top the first time the other day, and she was like, it's so cool seeing my shoulders, like on the ladder raises, like they look nice, you know. Pump can be a really motivating thing for people at the gym, so that is your pump.
Yeah, we love a good pump in this household.
Yes. And so the next one, though, is something I think you love, and it's your PR.
Oh my gosh, my motivation every time, yes. So your PR or your PB is your personal record or personal best. Mm-hmm. And so I am very competitive, but I have to be competitive with myself for my own mental health for right now. So I love a good PR because it just basically means that this time I either lifted a heavier weight or lifted the same weight but more times, so for more reps, which we'll define a little bit later. And it's always exciting because it just means that you hit something new. And so it's very fun to shoot for. But yeah, PR, PB, you'll hear that thrown out a lot, especially around people like me who are just trying to max it out every single time.
And PR is a nice motivation too, because, you know, whether you're doing weight loss, whether you're doing whatever, the second you start hitting heavier weights, you're like, something's happening within me. Mm-hmm. I'm getting stronger. There's more muscle, whatever that looks like. I'm just getting, you know. So that's a great feeling for a lot of people.
I think it's even motivating. With like PR, it's not just muscle too. It's also with like cardio at my Stairmaster. Yeah. Like every time I hit another 2 to 5 minutes on the Stairmaster, I appreciate that PR more than any heavyweight lifted, I would say.
I love that.
What are your favorite PRs?
Ooh, okay. I hated squatting for the longest time. I think I talked about that on here already. Yes. But when I was finally able to hit a plate on each side for my squat after ages of not being able to, that was like, okay, we're making progress. And because for right now, I'm not doing any sort of lifting towards my PR. All of my lifting is high volume right now for hypertrophy training, which we will also go over the definition of.
But see, that's how it happens. It's all throughout.
So we'll just define hypertrophy real quick.
Let's do it.
Hypertrophy training is when you're focused on...
My energy drink just really announced itself.
Actually, this is it. This one's just vitamins and antioxidants in it. There's no caffeine in that.
Just an ice, you know?
Just an ice. Yeah. So hypertrophy training is basically when you're trying to add more muscle mass to your body. It's not necessarily geared towards like hitting the highest amount of weight that you possibly
It's not
can.
powerlifting.
It's not powerlifting. It's very like it's repetitive. Hypertrophy training can get boring, I feel like, pretty quickly.
Well, and it's less fun because you get less street cred at the gym because you're lifting a lighter dumbbell or a lighter weight,
Right.
you know, and you're just like, no, look, I swear, keep looking. I'm doing so many reps.
You
I
know
promise.
what's so funny though is my pump is so much better when I hypertrophy
No,
train.
it really is. I
Because
don't
you get more
it
blood
as
flow
much.
because you have so many reps going on.
So much more blood flow.
But hypertrophy training is basically when you're trying to grow your muscle mass, which I do that sort of training with my weight loss clients because we just need to keep getting more muscle mass so you burn more calories. So
that's why I do so many lateral raises.
So many lateral raises. So on the other end of the spectrum, though, we have a 1 rep max.
Mm-hmm.
And that is basically when you can literally only do 1 rep of a weight, and that's it. Like, you're burnt out. So it's like the absolute most weight you can push, pull, squat, whatever, with that amount. So benching is a great way that people have a 1 rep max, and a most common one, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's just like you get it down, you get it back up, and that's it. Like, you can't do a second one.
Well, and I think it's really, like, the thing that I had to learn most with the 1 rep max is you need someone spotting you when you're attempting a 1 rep max. Well, because I normally work out alone, and I'm not keen on, I've literally never introduced myself to anyone at the gym. Like, I'm not a talker at the gym, and so no one ever spots me. So when we did the 1 rep max, like, Rachel was right above me, like, okay, it's going to feel really heavy. And I was just not used to it at all because I'm so used to needing to be able to not die by myself.
Pretty much the only compound movement you don't need a spotter for is a deadlift.
Yeah.
Squatting, definitely, you should have people there. Or have, like, the squat rack, the bars, like, the safeties up. So that is a 1 rep max. This next one I love because I have had so many people ask me what this is. And it is, what does it mean to say you're natty?
I asked you this. Yes. Well, because I'm on all of these, like, I don't know. I'm not a vegan, but the lifestyle fascinates me. So I'm on a vegan forum online, and people always say, like, oh, I'm vegan and I'm natty. So I thought it was, like, a nutritional term.
It's not.
It's not. So do you want to define natty for us?
Yeah. So especially with when you're competing in, like, bodybuilding.
Yeah, this is more your realm.
Yeah, it is. So, but you'll hear this in commercial gyms all the time because people who don't even compete still do it. So natty means that you are not on any performance enhancing drugs.
Yes. And can you name some performance enhancing drugs? Like does that include caffeine or
No. It means like testosterone and like the stuff that you need a doctor for or should have a doctor
I was going to say, probably doctor recommended, yes.
And people ask me too because even bikini girls won't be completely natural. That natty stands for natural.
Yeah.
I am, and my coach and I are on the same page about that.
Yep.
That's something I don't want to do. And so I am natty. Now, someone who's not is one way we say that is that they're taking gear. They're on gear.
Oh, I've never heard. Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Gear?
Gear. They're on gear.
Gear.
So if you hear someone, it's like, oh yeah, like I'm cycling gear, like my gear. It's like what they're using. And then there's also another term with supplements or steroids, any of those performance enhancing drugs, whatever that looks like, that coaches will say, run it. And that means let's start it, let's cycle it, let's get going on it. So
oh my gosh, wait, can you use that with me but with my fat burner?
You can't. That's how Enrique he texted me one time and he was like, oh yeah, run it. And I didn't know what that meant. And then I was like, it was like one of my supplements that I was like, we were going through like vitamins or fat burn or something before the show, and he was like, oh yeah, run it. And then I was like, I asked one of my friends, well, who was my previous coach, Parker, I was like, what does he mean by that? And he was like, oh, he means start it now, take it. And
taking my vitamin D would feel so much cooler if you texted and be like, run it. On a mission.
Right? I like that, actually.
No, it sounds very cool.
Yeah, run it.
Petition to adopt that into general vernacular.
Yeah, right.
Run it.
Vitamin C, run it.
Run it.
So, yeah, this is kind of just leading us into a lot of things. I might have to scan this list later out to make sure we hit everything. So, one thing we might say is pre-workout.
Yes, I watched you take pre-workout before I ever took pre-workout, and to me it just seemed like this mystical like potion almost, because it's
my
colorful.
My cocktail
and,
of stuff before I work out.
Well, and you throw in some funky stuff in there. So tell us a little bit about what is actually in pre-workout, because we hear about it a lot, but what is it actually comprised of?
Well, all pre-workouts are kind of different things. Like, some people buy stimulant pre-workouts, which has, like, a lot of caffeine. Some people take, just an ungodly amount of caffeine before they work out. I need, like, a middle ground. But, so some of them have beta-alanine. So if you're someone super sensitive to pre-workout, you might be taking some of the beta-alanine. Beta-alanine is the thing that makes you feel like you're itching. So, So Ghost, the products Ghost, are really high in beta-alanine. And I actually So I take a lot of stuff in my pre-workout mix. Yeah. So I have a pre-workout, which I just got with Ghost, and they have a large amount of beta-alanine in it. Yeah. So, and pre-workouts will possibly have, like, taurine, which is supposed to help you focus. It might have beta-alanine. It's supposed to get you hyped up and going for your workout. So that's why it has caffeine in it. But I mix it with Pump, which, like we said earlier, it's what makes the muscles pump up. But now you can actually take something to enhance that.
And it makes a big difference, at least for me. Yeah.
And so my Pump actually has beta-alanine in it. And then, I know, and then I take creatine, and I also have the creatine from Ghost, which that is going to help you. You have to take creatine very regularly for it to work well. That helps with taking water to your muscles. But that one has beta-alanine. So I have to do, like, a quarter scoop of all three of them because of the beta-alanine content of them, because otherwise you get really, really itchy. Some people love that. I don't love it, but I do love the Ghost products right now, because I've tried a bunch of different ones, and I don't like the super high stimulant pre-workouts that has a bunch of caffeine. I don't really need it.
Well, can we just, this isn't technically a definition, but what would you say is an average amount of caffeine? Because I think in the fitness community, like, a small amount of caffeine, just any non-actual numerical description of caffeine is so subjective in the fitness industry. So to you, what is, like, your normal caffeine intake? Because I'll share mine, but I want to hear yours first.
So I always go based off of what I know is in a cup of coffee. Like, every time I read a caffeine dosage, I'm like, okay, a cup of coffee is about 80 milligrams of caffeine. I am not going to take something that's 300 milligrams. Like, that's just too much. I think 200 is pretty much my max, but I need to be doing probably, like, a workout, especially if I'm going to be taking it as a pre-workout, as a pump, with all these other things in my system. But first of all, I'm pretty good about getting sleep.
You are.
I'm pretty good about hydrating. So I'm not usually feeling just downright exhausted where I need anything more than the 200. So that, it depends. Like one of the trainers at the gym, he's a big guy. So he can handle a lot more caffeine than, like, my body could. Yeah. So, but I always encourage people to 200 or less, because, like, 200 is still quite a bit. And most people, that's not the only caffeine they're drinking in the day. Most people have coffee, teas, whatever, energy drinks. So you have to be mindful of, okay, I'm taking pre-workout today. Oh, I drank an energy drink. Oh my gosh, I had coffee this morning. Like, that adds up very quickly.
It does.
So, but maybe we'll have a caffeine episode.
Yeah.
So there's that. So then let's go to the word yoked.
Yoked.
I love that.
This is activating the middle school boy in my personality.
So, Julia, what does it mean to be yoked?
Oh, gosh. I mean, if you see someone who's, like, so buff, they're walking kind of funny because their muscles are just so big. They're just, they're moseying about. Their arms are hanging out a little wide because they just can't fit all those muscles. Like, that's yoked to me. If your traps, like, your shoulder muscles are just kind of, like, leaning over a little bit, you're yoked.
You're yoked. You're jacked. Someone might say jacked.
Yep.
I go up to Ephraim sometimes at the gym. I'm like, do I look like a unit right now? And he's like, sure, Rachel.
Do I look like a unit right now?
Yeah. He tolerates a lot, okay? He's truly a saint.
Wait. Are there any other youth-related terms on there? I need to hear you say them.
We'll just keep going.
I look like a unit.
He's truly taking one for the team, marrying someone with my personality.
He's very lucky. He's doing just fine. I don't worry about him one bit.
Okay. So now, what is a bulk? You'll hear people say that. Mm-hmm. Bulk is funny because some people use it as an excuse to eat more.
That's very common in gym culture, is the joke of you're eating something that you wouldn't normally eat on your plan. You say, well, I'm bulking right now.
I'm bulking. It's bulking season.
I'm bulking.
Which is funny, too, because people love to bulk because they're like, oh, like, I look bigger.
I need to explain what bulking is. Eating more food.
Bulking is where your calorie intake is going to be more than your expenditure in hopes that helps you put on more muscle mass. Mm-hmm. Because you're not going to put on a ton of muscle mass if you're in a calorie deficit, and you're probably not going to put on a ton of muscle mass if you're at a maintenance calorie where you're eating the same amount of food that your body is burning.
Yeah.
So you have to increase those calories. Now, given you should do it smartly. You should not just eat a bunch of fatty foods and hope that you bulk. You need to give your body the right foods to bulk. But people really love bulking season. I, on the contrary, hate it. I hate bulking.
Doesn't like it.
Enrique knows that. I don't like overeating. It doesn't feel good for me. Mm-hmm. I have stomach problems. Aww. I don't like it, but we have to do it because I have to put on muscle mass. So there's bulking, and then my favorite, there's cutting.
No.
I love cutting. I think it's so fun for me because I also feel like I get to play Tetris with my macros, and I'm like, ooh, if I eat this and I eat this, I like that. I love having control over everything, and bulking and cutting are both ways that cutting I feel like I have more control over than my bulk. But cutting is basically now where instead of eating more than your calorie output, you eat less so that you are cutting more body fat. Hopefully you're maintaining your muscle mass, but it's basically where you start to see more lines, your shoulders, quads, things start to come out more. And sometimes we say like, oh, we're just trying to see what's underneath, which is like what's underneath your body fat layer.
Yeah.
So we can see where we need to grow muscle, where maybe things are growing more. That's a good way to measure it because I know Enrique and I talked about it where he was saying this girl, when we started cutting, she lost like all of her glutes because they didn't realize that it wasn't as much muscle as there was body fat.
Nightmare.
So they had to go back and rebuild her glutes after they cut a little bit.
Ah.
So that's cutting. Okay, let's go into reps and sets.
Okay.
Because I know people get these confused. So let's say you're doing bicep curls.
Okay.
That's a fairly simple exercise. So you're doing bicep curls. If you're going to do 10 repetitions of a curl, that is reps. Those are your reps. Now, if you're going to do those 10 reps and do that 4 different times.
So 40 total reps.
40 total reps.
Yep.
But broken into 10. That means you're doing 4 sets of 10 repetitions. So it's easy to think about reps as repetitions because that's what it really is. So you're doing 4 sets of 10 repetitions. Because some people think that it's 4 repetitions of 10 sets, like they get the words confused.
Totally fair.
So 4 sets of whatever repetitions you're doing. Okay. So that's pretty plain and simple, but that's one I think people...
Took me a while.
Yeah. It's just, there's a lot going on at the gym.
Yeah.
It's hard. So the next one is lats, your lats. So, Julia, what are your lats?
I think are they my shoulders?
No. Okay.
Are they my under bra fat area?
Well, it's the muscle
I say it lovingly.
That is pretty much if you lift up your arm, there's a muscle underneath right below your armpit. And it connects into your back. Oh, it's the one that
when you do your fun Gaston bicep pose.
Yeah, so underneath, it's what makes your back look wide. That's actually called your latissimus dorsi. That's what that muscle is called. But we call it lats for short because you'll see lat pull downs at the gym. Yeah, your latissimus dorsi. It sounds like a Harry Potter word.
It does.
So that's a muscle group, and I think it's great for anyone going to the gym to. I always say pull up a muscle anatomy photo on just Google so that when you go to a machine and it shows you can look it up on Google to see what muscle you should be feeling. That's always a great way to know. When you see lat pull down, you'll be like, oh, it says latissimus dorsi.
Yeah.
So then we have bis and tris. So this is basically your biceps, which is the upper part of your arm, the front side, and then the back side is your triceps. So that's what we call bis and tris. Some people do a muscle split when they're working out, that's bis and tris. So your biceps and your triceps. And a split is actually the muscle groups that you work each day that you go to the gym. Some people split is back biceps, chest, triceps, shoulders, and legs.
Like all of those take place on a different day.
Yeah. So that's what a split is.
Well, and that took me a really long time to figure out too. And that's also my favorite new, I mean, I was going to say my favorite new conversation starter with people at the gym, but that would be a lie. That would be a farce. I have not actually spoken to anyone at the gym. But when I talk to people outside of the gym, like my friends or like people I'm talking to, like just meeting at like parties and stuff, I'll say like, oh, what's your split? And it's a great conversation starter, especially if you're like newer to the gym world. And if you're, it's the perfect gym conversation starter. So I just like saying that too. It's really helpful because it's name dropping. You're showing the lingo. Yeah. It's showing that you're smart about it.
It shows your goals based on what your split is.
Exactly. And so sometimes, depending on the person, I'll be like, oh, I do like 4 days of legs. It's so exhausting.
Just over here building these hamstrings.
Oh, the hip thrusts I have to do. It's unbelievable. No. Right. But it's good. And then it shows you're interested in what they're doing too.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Does. It shows some knowledge. It is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's the perfect ice because you're not asking about their nutrition. You're not asking,
what's your max? I hate when people say that.
Oh my God.
I'm like, I don't know. I haven't done a max in a year and a half.
I know.
So I do.
It's a helpful one to learn at the beginning.
Yes. This next one is one that people use when they're explaining things more. So a trainer might say it to you, like a coach might say it to you. To be honest, people don't regularly say it to their gym bros, but it is used a lot when you look up informational videos. So we're going to include it. It's when people say set the scaps. So they use the word scaps. And that's just referring to your shoulder blades. Those are called your scapulas.
Yes, scaps!
So your scaps. Yeah.
Scaps.
So that's a simple one.
I'm laughing because my mom is friends with the nice, older ladies in their swim class. I say my mom, but my entire family, my immediate family goes to the swim class. And they know I have a record player. And so this nice older lady gave me a vintage Disney record from Snow White, not Snow White, Sleeping Beauty. And there's a song on there called Scumps.
Oh.
And I was so Marley and I literally sat down and watched all of Sleeping Beauty to figure out what their song is, but now that you say scaps, all I can think of is scaps, but to the tune of this freaking Scumps drinking song.
We can make a remake.
That'll be our first foray into sounds for real.
So the next one is, well, I'll put this one in because I don't think we were going to put it in. RPM. Mm-hmm. That's your rotations per minute. That's if you're a cycle person. So if you go into a cycle class, your instructor might be like, okay, guys, let's hit 80 RPMs. That's
so many.
The speed. It's not as fast as you think it is. Because you go up to 120 during a cycle class.
Bro.
So that was just a simple one to put in there. But the next one is something that I use a lot as a trainer. A lot of trainers do. Mm-hmm. Is your rate of perceived exertion. So RPE.
Yes.
Your rate of perceived exertion. And basically, if your trainer says to you, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a feather, 10 being I can't move it, how did that weight feel for you? They're trying to see how you perceived that weight so they know how to adjust the weight. Because that's really good as a trainer to get that idea of where you're sitting at so we can program workouts around that. And even with my online clients, I use RPE a lot, especially if it's an exercise you haven't done before. Mm-hmm. I don't know where you're starting. So it's good to say, okay, I want this to feel like a 7.
Yeah.
Okay, this one should feel like a 10. That's why we're only doing 5. To keep, it's kind of like your own personal evaluation. And it does kind of get you thinking of how much does this weight really feel like?
Well, and it's been really helpful for me too because sometimes I have to do the workouts that you give me out of order because just equipment is taken and I have to go at busy times. But it's really helpful to see... It's RPE, right? Yeah, It's really helpful to see the RPE in there because I can look at it and say oh, this is only supposed to be a 7. So, and then I can use that to gauge because I am definitely I don't know, I'm a shallow lifter. I like lifting heavier and going to the heavier parts of the weight racks and be oh, I'll take this. So it keeps me in check as an online training client to say, okay, I should not be shallow lifting.
It doesn't always have to be as excruciatingly heavy as
it really shouldn't. It's definitely my fatal flaw as a gym attendee.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I like that you like to lift heavy.
It's very fun.
So the next one is AMRAP. Have you heard of that before?
I've only seen it on the app, and I just avoid. I don't know what that is.
So AMRAP, they use it in CrossFit a lot too. It's as many reps as possible or as many rounds as possible. So at the gym, when a trainer might put AMRAP for reps, it means to do as many possible ones as you can. Mm-hmm. Now, if it's in CrossFit, sometimes they'll set a timer for 10 minutes and it'll be an AMRAP. So it'll be like 4 or 5 exercises, and you'll just go through them as many times as you possibly can and count the rounds that you do. And that's kind of like the competition side of CrossFit, is how many rounds you can do. So that's what AMRAP is, AMRAP. And then, so another thing that is similar with the CrossFit terms is Metcon. You'll hear that. That's metabolic conditioning. That's where you're just trying to get the highest amount of calorie burn. So you're doing this like really, really intense exercise, like compound movements. Like they'll deadlift, they'll do squats, they'll do pull-ups, whatever. They'll do a bunch of stuff like that where they're just exerting like crazy, but it's for a short period of time. We actually have at Equinox like a Metcon class that kind of mimics that conditioning style. Is it kind of
like related to HIIT?
It feels similar, but it's longer. It's not like 20 seconds on. It's a little bit different.
How exhausting. My God.
It was exhausting. When I did CrossFit, I was exhausted. Okay, BPM. Julia, what is BPM?
Beats per minute. So this is how many times your heart beats in a minute, right? Yeah.
And you can use your BPM to measure like your cardio zones, to measure, because sometimes if I have a client who's doing something and like their heart rate goes up to like the 160s, like we'll take a little bit of a longer rest to let it come back down to like the 130s, 120s.
I've gotten into like 190 on a lift before and then just said like, okay, we're going to take a break.
You take a rest. Yeah, so that's why like having like a smartwatch to measure that.
It's really so worth it. Yeah.
For sure. The next one is BCAs. Do you know what that stands for?
Is the BCAs different from the BCCA?
So, no, you're just thinking of BCAs. So it's BCAA.
BCAA. Polycarbonate amino acids.
No, but the amino acids correct. So it's
that's 50%.
Yes. Yeah, guys, honestly, supplements are hard, but this is something you will hear commonly as people like, oh, these are BCAs.
Yes.
So those are branch-chain amino acids because you drink them, it helps with recovery, it helps with like protein synthesis.
Is that what's in like, because is it different than an electrolyte?
Yeah. Because amino acids make up protein. If you remember, I think they teach us that in like, I don't know if they taught that in high school. I don't know if it was college or high school. Like, there's 3 amino acids that makes up a protein. So you're giving your body the tools to make the proteins. Now, there's a little discrepancy right now with the BCAAs versus the EAAs, which is your essential amino acids, which are a little bit different.
Yeah.
Which is the ones your body absolutely needs. So you might get it from your foods. But some studies are showing that the EAAs are better for your protein synthesis than BCAAs, but some people feel that, some people don't.
Drama.
So there's the fitness world is always evolving.
The discourse.
More studies are coming out. Some of it people are like, well, are the supplement brands just trying to get our money by selling us BCAAs? So there's a little discrepancy.
Interesting.
Do your research.
Yes.
So let's keep going. Failure.
Yes. Training till failure is lifting or stairmastering or rowing or just doing whatever you can until you can't possibly do it one more time. And so you've probably seen people do this, especially if you're on the weights floor where someone will be lifting and you'll see them exerting a lot and then they'll just drop the weight. And so I was on a forum online and someone was like, why do people drop weights? And it's like, if you're lifting till failure, so lifting until you physically cannot lift anymore, it's really hard to be like, okay, now I'm going to super socially acceptably set down the weight, so that's till failure. And it comes up a lot in the gym meme culture as well, because a lot of people joke like, oh, I don't train till failure for the gains. I train till failure because I can't count how many reps I'm doing. Because when you're lifting really heavy, you forget and lose track. So that's failure to me. Oh, would you add anything to that definition?
Yeah, my coach has us train to failure a lot for hypertrophy style training, because typically you're going to hit hypertrophy level reps for that, which is a little bit higher in reps. So he does that with us a lot. I am not someone who does well with, like, not knowing how many reps I'm going to do. Like, mentally that's hard for me, and he knows that. So we've been kind of trying to find a balance between doing some sets to failure, but also being like, okay, let's just increase the weight and do another set of, like, 15.
Interesting.
Because if he said to failure versus just telling me I have to get to 15, I might go to 11 if it's to failure, and I might be able to just go to 15 if it's not, because, like, mentally I struggle with going to failure. He knows that. We've had some conversations about it. So, but some people love that, like, feels them. They're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just burn out my muscle.
Whoa.
Yeah. And which is kind of with one of the vocab of burnout. It's like, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. So it's kind of like that, but burning out, usually with my clients, I have it at, like, the very tail end of the workout. Failure, you can do it intermixed into your session.
Wait, so what makes burnout? Is failure more of just, like, a momentary or an isolated?
No, you can go to failure on your last exercise, but typically when it's, like, a burnout, it's, like, the last exercise of the workout. Okay. So I think I have you doing that with, like, lateral raises or something.
That's what I was trying to figure out, was where in my workout I do it, and I was like, no, wait, it's like the
very
raises.
tail end of it.
Yeah.
You're, like, burnt out.
I am. Thanks to you.
I know. So then we have this other word called partials. So that's when you're just doing a shorter range of motion of something, like sometimes we'll do it on, like, a leg extension where you're just doing partial reps, where it's just...
I do them on the hip thrust.
Yeah, the thing with doing the partials that I like as a coach is I'm keeping my clients' muscles under tension. They're not having any rest time, whether it's all the way at the top of the rep or it's all the way at the bottom. It's just, like, pumping them out. That's a partial.
And you say pumping it out. That's when I get the biggest pump, is when I do partial reps. Like, if I'm, like, lifting before going to an event later, you know, I will do more partials, and I'll usually add them onto the reps you'll give me. Like, I'll just do an extra, like, 5 at the end, and I'll do, like 0.5s all the way. It's very fun. It's very fun.
Yeah, Enrique has us do partials. It's funny because we were working out, me and one of his other bikini girls, and she was asking him, she was like, hey, what is the point of partials? Yeah. And he was just saying, too, it's like you're working the muscle at a different length, too. Like, you're not fully contracting it.
Because aren't you trying to break it? Isn't that the goal? You're trying to, like, break the muscle?
So it's like little micro tears.
Yeah, so, like, aren't you just micro tearing it at a new angle then if you're doing the partials?
Yeah, kind of. It's like they say to work muscles at different lengths to help the hypertrophies train more, to build more strength along the whole muscle. So
yeah, some
people do it, some people don't. Okay, so when I texted you this particular word, you were like, oh, love that. DOMS. Do you know what DOMS stand for? Because I don't know if we have different definitions.
What's your definition, Rachel?
My definition of a DOMS is a delayed onset muscle soreness. So that's like where people will be like, oh, you're going to be sore from this workout, but it's not going to be for 2 days. So if you do leg day on a Monday, and all of a sudden on Wednesday you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sore, what the heck?
Yeah, because this has definitely happened to me personally, where I'll work out, and right after the workout, I feel great. And especially during the workout, I'll overexert because I'm feeling it. I'm feeling great. Next day, I'm like, I escaped it. Like,
right, you're like, it must not have been that hard.
Yeah, no, it's truly fine. And then I'll wake up hit by a truck the next day. So what happens?
Because we do get inflammation right after the workout, but then later your body starts to recover and repair. And then that's when you're going to start feeling like...
Oh, okay. So the pain you're feeling is like your body working. That's the sensation you're feeling.
Which is, I think, also why some people are like, well, if I'm not sore like the next day, then maybe it wasn't hard enough.
Well, and then that's horrible, because then the next day you work out extra hard and then you have like 2 days of torture the next...
I know.
Yeah, that's happened to me. Cycle. I've done that.
I understand. Yeah, this is a cycle. Okay. So... we also have another definition called, like, a compound movement. Do you know what a compound movement is?
Is this a superset? Or is this the one where it's, like, the exercise itself is a superset?
So the exercise itself is a compound movement. So, like, a squat where you're working at 2 joints. So, like, your hips and your knees.
Okay, maybe I don't know. Because I thought it was, like, when you have me do lateral raises, so I raise 2 dumbbells out to my side, and then I do a front raise literally right after. So I go to the side, and then I raise them to the front, and then that's one rep. Because you're working the same muscle.
So compound set is different than compound movement.
Okay, so explain a compound movement to me.
Yeah, so like a squat where like two of your joints are working.
So what would be a non-compound? Would like a bicep curl be a non-compound?
Right.
Okay.
Like, especially one where it's like a concentrated where like your elbow's on a pad that's really isolated, like a leg extension.
Okay.
Things like that.
Okay.
Now a compound set though, you're right. It's where, let's say you do an overhead press and then you go right into something that's working your shoulders. That's like a compound. But a superset is where you might do a lat pull down and then like a bicep curl.
Yeah.
Because those are two different muscle groups.
And the superset is you finish all of the reps for that set. So like we talked about earlier, so if you have to do it 10 times, a superset is you do the one exercise 10 times and then you pick up the weight and do the next exercise afterwards.
No
back
rest.
to back. Exactly.
Yeah. And that's going to keep your heart rate up. Mm-hmm. Which is why some people are like, oh, can't I just take a little rest?
No.
And then, yeah, and I mean, resting is basically...
That's true.
The time you take in between the sets.
Well, we've had many a debate over resting because I do not follow... Rachel gives me specific amount of times that I'm allotted to rest, and I often disregard them. And so we're working on like getting to a point where I actually acknowledge the
rest period.
Yes, the recommended rest period.
Yes. And then so with the compound set, superset, and then you can have a circuit where a circuit's like more than 2 exercises, where maybe it's 3 or 4 exercises.
Yeah.
That you'll have a circuit, because they have classes too where it's like circuit training where there's like 6.
My nightmare.
Yeah.
My nightmare.
I used to coach those, like at LA Fitness.
You as a circuit coach is horrifying.
So fun. I loved that.
Scary.
Okay, so then we have a cool down. Like, what's a cool down?
Something I skip. I'm sorry, it's true.
I love cool downs. I think they're wonderful. It's the time you take to get your heart rate back down, you know, bring your body temperature back down. You can stretch a little bit. You can do more static stretching where you're not doing, like, where you're just sitting in a stretch.
And if you're doing cardio, it's like bringing the speed down and, yeah.
Even treadmills naturally do cool downs. They'll, like, go into it. So it's just, like, bring your heart rate back down.
Yeah, just ease into it.
Ease into it. Plyometrics.
Yeah, I have no idea what that means.
This was your word that you said.
Well, because I want to know. I'm curious.
Yeah. Plyometrics are more where you're doing jumping, basically.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
I hate, what was it again? Plyometrics?
Plyometrics. You sent me this.
I hate plyometrics. When you give me a jump squat in my plan, no.
Yeah, it's basically jump training.
No.
But which also is a little bit different too, because you're working your fast twitch muscle fibers, which there's different muscle fibers. So the fast twitch are more engaged in plyometrics. I know one thing that like just excruciatingly killed me with diving was we did a lot of plyometrics for diving because diving is a jumping sport. Yeah. Was the jumping lunges where you alternate back and forth. Oh, those killed me.
My shins hurt just thinking about that because I did long jump and sprinting.
Yeah.
So I had to do that and tennis too. So I did a ton of jump stuff and it was just
rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so plyometrics. There's a coach at Equinox that teaches a lot of plyometrics. He's great at it. I think he's our only coach that actually specifically will coach plyometrics, but does an excellent job.
Wow.
Okay, this one is from CrossFit as well, and it's called an EMOM. Any guesses?
What? No.
Okay. Maybe I'll add this to your program a little bit.
Wait.
It's every minute on the minute. EMOM. EMOM.
Every minute on the minute.
So let's say you're supposed to do 10 squats, 10 burpees, 10 sit-ups. So you would do those. You would start a timer for a minute. You would do those. Whatever time you had left within that minute, you rested. But the next minute that comes on, you do the set again. And then you only get to rest with the amount. So if you start to slow down, you have less rest time.
The way I'm, like, so scared thinking about that? Wait, no, that's
I kind of like those because it felt, like, competitive with myself. I'm like, okay, I can finish this in 20 seconds and have 40 seconds of rest.
See, that's where we're different. Like, if I take my rest time away from me, like, the really young part of myself in my brain is like, no, we're going to get too stressed. And I will pass out like a scared, like, prey animal if I know I don't have rest. Like, I can't work like that. I can't do it.
It's not for everyone.
No.
Not for everyone.
But that's cool that it works for you.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
Like that. So, isometric is a term where so we have eccentric movements. Okay. Eccentric is where the muscle gets longer. Concentric is where the muscle gets smaller. And then isometric is where you're holding the muscle in a isolated position, like it doesn't move. Your muscle's not moving.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. So isometric, like an isometric hold is like a plank.
Yeah.
Where your abs aren't necessarily contracting, but they're not extending. They're just staying in one position.
Yeah.
So your isometric movement. So what we kind of talked about, dynamic versus static stretching. Dynamic stretching is where maybe you're doing a lunge and like moving your hips back and forth, where your body's moving, where you're not just holding it in place. I always compare this to like in literature where one character, like their personality doesn't change. Like they're static throughout the whole thing.
Yep.
But the dynamic character is the one you see making like the character changes and becoming a better person. So your stretching is kind of like that, where you're dynamic, where you're moving, where, you know, you're twisting, you're rocking back and forth, whatever that looks like. And static is where you're just holding.
Yep.
So like some yoga poses are very static and you just hold.
But they have different results, right? It's kind of you can shake it up.
Yeah, I mean, in track, they do a lot of dynamic stretching to prepare your body for that sort of exercise. Tabata. I'm reading our text messages about Tabata right now.
Yes.
I'm like, I don't like Tabata. And you're like, I don't like Tabata either. So tell us about Tabata, Julia.
All I know is it has to do, I think, with abs, and that all my friends did it during quarantine, and I never touched it because it sounded scary, and they all hated it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny that... So Tabata is very similar to kind of like the EMOM. But it's like 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. And there's like, I thought I had the timer on here, but I don't. There's a Tabata timer that you can download where it's like, dee, 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 dee. And then you start going for 20 seconds.
No.
And then it has like, or it'll be like 3, 2, 1, begin. And
that's
then
like a Black Mirror episode. That's nope.
So that's Tabata. A lot of group fitness classes do it. It's a style of HIIT, which is HIIT, which is high intensity interval training. Yeah. So it's another style of HIIT. I know like Orange Theory kind of plays off of the HIIT style. I've actually never taken an Orange Theory class, but from what I've heard, it's very similar to that. So yeah, I'm not a big Tabata fan, to be honest with you. One time I took a cycle class, and the lady did the cycle class, and then I don't know if this was included in the plan, but then we did Tabata for like 15 minutes after the cycle class, and I looked at my friend who was with me, and I was like, I'm never doing this again with you.
Yeah, that's a one. I was like,
that was
class.
So mean. That was so mean.
Yikes! Did someone piss her off? Like what?
I don't know. It was actually in my hometown too. It was at like one of the only gyms available in my hometown. Oh my gosh. So
it's an initiation exercise.
Right.
Didn't make the cut.
I know. I did not love it. And then we went to her power yoga class. And you're like lifting weights in like yoga position. So it was just all hard. It was
horrifying.
All hard.
No, thank you.
Yeah. So we have one more. Okay. No, actually a few more. And then we have Julia's personal favorite. So gains. What are gains?
Yes, gains. So gains is going to be your muscle growth.
Yeah. How much muscle mass you're putting on. We are literally girls' gains and growing pains.
Gains. Sometimes spelled with a Z at the end, depending on how hip you are.
Yeah, the gains.
The gains.
Yeah, it's like a nice measure of progress too. It's like how your gains are going.
Well, and used in a sentence, you would say, "Oh, the booty gains," or
the shoulder gains.
The shoulder gains is so often comes up for us. The shoulder gains.
The shoulders.
Yeah.
We're hoping the leg gains come through soon.
Oh my god.
So one gains. Day. That's one that you might use or hear frequently. Mm-hmm. And then shredded.
Yes.
When someone looks shredded, what does that mean?
Shredded is you have a low body fat percentage.
Yeah. So when you cut, you start to look shredded. And it's funny because when you cut and start to look shredded, people really notice, like, they're like, dang, you're in such good shape. But it's funny because when you were bulking and had the same amount of muscle, they're like, oh, she's just a regular gal. Yep. And then you cut, and it's like, oh, shoot. They're like, you know.
They're in there.
It's there. You're shredded. I actually had someone come up to me at the gym right after I'd finished prep. Yeah. They're like, how'd you get so shredded? And I was like, well, I've always had the muscle. Yes. It was just a little hidden.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I gained 20-some pounds before I cut for that show.
Yeah.
Which was a lot. But, so that's what it means to be shredded. If your goal is to be shredded, definitely get a nutrition coach.
Well, and that's when you hear, like, the summer shred. That's what
The
I'm
summer
branding
shred.
for myself right now,
Yes.
is I'm about to start the summer, so many S's, the summer shred.
Yes, I am actually planning on doing a program for people who just want to do a summer shred.
Yes.
It's going to be like a 3-month program for people.
Do
so
it.
keep an eye out. That's coming.
Highly
it's in
recommend.
the works. A summer shred, that's like a 3-month commitment to your nutrition, your workouts, everything like that.
That'd be amazing.
So, shred for the summer. See all those muscles. See the work you've been putting in.
Exactly.
And then, is there any other ones you would like to go over before I go into your favorite? That was a lot.
Yeah, I think we've got pretty much everything that I put on the list, at least. Yeah.
Yes. So there's still so many.
So many.
You're gonna keep hearing more.
We would be here for too long. It's not humanly possible.
But I hope that does help with when you go to the gym, you feel more just comfortable because people are going to talk about their gym days and stuff like that. And then you're going to know what they're saying. And if you don't, send us a message if you need a little bit of a definition.
Exactly.
We'll be happy to answer that because then we know what maybe people don't know. We don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. I kind of equate, like, this lingo episode to being able to ask where the restroom is in another language. You know, you just need an operating base amount of understanding to get around.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's just gonna make you more comfortable.
Exactly.
Make the gym less intimidating to know the general idea. So the last one we're gonna go over is, you might hear this, is having a swole mate.
A swole mate, yes! Oh my god, when I saw this, I said, oh, truly everything good in the world has already been created by man. A swole mate.
Swole mate. What is a swole mate to you?
To me, a swole mate is it's not just a gym partner. It goes beyond that. A swole mate is your fitness other half, I think, is the way I would put it.
Yeah, it's like the person at the gym that, like, it hurts you when they're not there with you. Like, you're like, I need them here. It's like, it literally is like your version of it's a gym version of a soulmate. That's why it sounds like a soulmate. It's like the person you're just like, I just connect with them on a different level in this capacity.
Exactly.
You know, it's not a romantic thing.
No.
Typically, honestly, it's usually the same, like, you know, girls have girl soulmates, guys have guy soulmates, whatever, because your body types are also, your weights are pretty similar, body types are similar, and you're just like, we connect. Our goals, our views on the gym, like, everything, like, you're like, oh yeah, you got your water, oh yeah, I got, like, you get matching water bottles, whatever, like,
the
or
matching
gym clothes.
Gym sets, yes, hello.
That's like your soulmate. You're like, we were made to be at the gym together.
Exactly. Your fitness ride or die.
Yes. And it's so good when you find that, because then you're like, oh, this is awesome.
Exactly.
You know? You're like,
you feel fulfilled.
Yes.
Understood. Seen.
Yeah, no, it's great. And that's like the accountability some people need, is just have their gym buddy.
Yes, 100%. And sometimes your gym buddy doesn't even need to go with you. Like, I have so many friends, and we just text each other our gym selfies and let each other know when we went, and it's great.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're doing it.
Exactly.
You're doing it. I wish I was there, but you're doing it.
It's true.
I love that.
It's true.
So yeah, that's a lot of gym lingo to digest.
Mm-hmm. You better have been taking notes. There will be a quiz next week.
Exactly. What did you learn? So, and if there's other ones that maybe, I think this would be a great series for us to eventually continue, as more gym lingo, more supplement lingo, vitamins, stuff like that.
Oh my goodness.
Because there's just so much to learn, and sometimes you just need some basic definitions so that you feel like you've got some sort of grasp. Because the gym world, man,
it's a lot.
It's a lot to take on. So anyone who's going for it, you're already doing great.
Yep.
You're already doing great. So, yeah. And I'm not sure how long this episode is, but I'm hoping that you guys can send us some more gym lingo so we can do a little mini episode.
Yes.
And maybe go in further detail with them.
Yes, and to send us your gym lingo, reach out to us on Instagram at gggp_podcast, or you can email us at girlsgainsandgrowingpains@gmail.com, because we want to hear from you.
Yeah, we do.
It's our favorite.
We'll start posting gym definitions.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
That'd be cute. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. We
certainly did.
We did. We love recording all these kind of podcasts for you guys. So with that being said,
this has been another episode of Girls, Gains, and Growing Pains.